Welcome, Lakshmi, and many congratulations on scoring above target in all the three domains in PMP. Like as usual, I really get inspired by people like you who really get to that above target scores, right? So what exactly was an inspiration for you first of all to take up the PMP examination, right? That's first trigger I would like to know. So what was the inspiration to go
I
for
think
the
there are two
PMP
things.
examination?
So PMP is something I want to do for a long time. So I think I've been doing this project management for 10 years now. So when I last took it up, it was around 5 years back or so. And then I saw the prerequisites for it, and it appeared a bit scary because it required a lot of experience actually. When I read that 60 months of experience of project management, so I put it off. Like I said, okay, maybe I'm not haven't got experience yet to take up the exam, and then I have been thinking for quite some time. Thought, okay, it's a valuable thing to do, and I should do it. I should take the plunge at some point. So I had my baby, and then I thought, okay, now it's time. I needed to invest in myself as well. So that's the first thing. And I've done some agile certification, but I knew as a fact that PMP was going to be a little bit tough and it's going to require a lot of effort as well to do, right? So I think it's the right time that I was waiting for. So that's a main key thing. Just add value to your whole career thing. And then the timing also needs to work for us basically, because it's quite a complicated examination.
Hmm. So what was one success factor which you think which made a difference for you to go and crack this exam successful? What was one major success factor for?
Success factor as in, I mean, yes, naturally getting certified is one thing, but the other thing is also validating what I have been doing all these while. So I knew when I was doing the course, I knew, okay, this is what we're actually doing. Each organization has a different governance. It's all that different thing. But I got to see how it is getting tailored to each organization. So I think that learning in itself is a success for me, basically, because I wasn't doing a certification for the sake of it, but I knew what I'm learning, what I'm doing, is that aligned to the industry standard? And I mean, I've worked in different organizations and I've been checking. So it kind of mapped to what we were doing. So it was quite easy to relate to. And I was also thinking, what are we not doing basically that I could add to my organization, improve, some kind of contributions I could make to the governance as well. So I think those are the success that I would take away from that. And the factor that really helped me is, of course, the preparation for this examination, your boot camp, which I just mentioned a few minutes back. So the boot camp that I attended, the 36 hours, which anyway is a prerequisite. But when I attended, I made sure that I gave undivided attention for those 36 hours. I'm not exaggerating it, but I was always, most of the time I was on the video, basically just trying to interact with you and making sure I was taking notes and stuff like that. So I think that 36 hours really helped, as in you were trying to focus on some key areas, the gray areas, because certain things didn't add up. Basically, I said, like, no, this is not what we would do. But then you would try to give rationale for that and say, what would you do in this case, basically? And then this real life experience and the examples that you would give. So I think those are the small, subtle things, but they contributed basically and helping us with the examination. So I think these are the key takeaways for me. But what contributed is one of the things is your definitely your boot camp as well. That helped quite a bit because that lays the foundation, right? As the first step for taking the examination, in addition to whatever experience you carried yourself basically over the years.
Yeah, I think your active participation was also like a confidence for me that you are going to go for above target. Somewhere I had that, most of the people who are like actively involved in the workshop are definitely going and hitting that above target mark. And I think that's an amazing thing, right? By the way, how was your exam? Was it tough? Easy?
No, it was quite challenging. Okay, there were a few questions which were like you could crack it, like, yeah, okay, you know this, but they were not basic questions, but I would say moderate. Like you know the answer, you're gonna get it right. But there were quite a lot of questions as well, which were a bit challenging because I again use the rule of elimination that you mentioned. Like there were 4 choices, 2 choices, for sure, it's not the answer, but the 2 choices that really confused, like they were quite close. So what I did is I just flagged them for revisiting it later. And then after some time, I revisited them. And then, when you look at it, the fresh pair of eyes, the answer was just glaring there. So I was like, okay, now I understand what the question is, because the way I see it is different and you've been looking at it objectively. I think one thing which I've also been telling our the peers who attended this in the session is look at it objectively. Do not go with the mindset, this is what the question is all about, because that's the mistake I was doing in my mock exam, because I thought this is what the question is all about. But actually, when you take a step back and then think objectively, you're like, no, this is not the question. This is what they're asking for. So overall, I would say it was a mix of moderate and difficult questions. Some could be expert level as well, I think. And then I just had to revisit some of them. In fact, I revisited like 5 or 10 out of the 60 that you would attend normally. And yeah, so it was not easy. It wasn't very easy, Dr. Khan, as you would appreciate. So yeah, it was difficult.
Right on. And what is the one tip which you want to give it to people who are taking an exam now, or who are even thinking of going for PMP exam, PMP? Do you give any recommendation to anyone that if they have to take a PMP exam or even think of PMP exam, what is that one tip which you want to give?
So if you're thinking of taking the PMP exam, do it as soon as you're done with the boot camp, so that you have, I mean, it's not, I mean, the exam basically doesn't just test your theoretical knowledge. It's about what you are doing basically as well. And at least that's how I perceive it. But I would say take it as soon as the boot camp is over, so that you have the connection, you have the network with the people who have done it. So I think that really helped me. Even though I was not asking questions in the group after the session, I was following the questions that were being asked, and I was trying to understand what's going on. So I think that really helps. That it's just not the peers who attended your session, but it also with other batches basically that you run. So I think that's very useful. So if you're thinking of taking the exam, and if you're really serious about it, I would say do it as soon as possible. Whilst you have all the network and the connection, the information is always there. You can always go back and look at it, but do it as soon as possible if you're really serious about it. And book the exam and then start the preparation is what I would say. I gave it like 3 to 4 weeks, with the last week being quite intense. I devoted myself like 4 to 5 hours actually the last week, because my exam was on Thursday, and the Saturday before that onwards, like 4 or 5 days, I was like, it was close to 4 to 5 hours is what I spent on that. So book the exam, like give yourself 3 to 4 weeks, and then start working backwards and just see how I plan things, backwards.
Amazing, amazing, excellent. I think this is a very important point. You were crisp, clear what exactly we need to do. And you said examination is not easy, so you need to get the right mentor, get guidance, and go for it, and strike when the iron is hot. Right? That is the whole thing, right? Thank you so much, Lakshmi. It was like amazing, like quick, crisp tips, and I'm sure you're inspiring many people, and you're going to encourage many people, especially in UK, to go for PMP examination as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Khan. Thanks for your guidance as well and the tips. I still recall the questions that I raised, because some questions didn't add up, and I was like, no, this is not how we do. And also the exercise that we did. In fact, the exercise you made us do in terms of the risk register, it might sound very simple, because if someone is looking at it, like, she has got 10 years of experience, it should be straightforward, tracking the risk register. But there are subtleties, and the questions that come basically based on those subtleties, it makes you really think that you wouldn't otherwise think normally, because it's not something you do on a day-to-day basis, but it will start making you think from now on. And I'm thinking with any new assignment that I would be given, I was thinking, okay, this is something I need to implement. So I think anyone who participates in your class needs to pay close attention to the points that you make, especially when you emphasize on few things which are a bit tricky. I think it's important you focus, because I've got all colors of felt pens on my notebook, marking it as important, saying, okay, this is what he said. So I think that's very, very important. You asked for one tip, but this is another thing that I noticed. And I know all people can't attend your, some of them I know they just go through the recordings later on given the circumstance. But I would strongly encourage people who sign up to pay attention to your class basically, and then, just reap the benefit of it. And you've been excellent. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. In fact, one good news is I'm planning to create a lot of mentors globally now in PMP, in DABAC, in various other areas. So I hope that would definitely get fulfilled. So looking forward to definitely I'm also thinking about you as a mentor, going forward.
Oh,
So
that would be a pleasure to do it. Yes, I've got lots of things in my mind. And what also helps is I checked out the video of few of your candidates who took this exams basically. So I just thought whenever I was free, I was taking a break, I was just looking at it just to see what are the tips that they're giving. And one tip that I think it was Chris Sena, I think, she said, oh, just go through the questions over and again. Sometimes I spent even 4 minutes because when I took some questions did take 4 minutes because I was just rereading those questions and then I was thinking, and then I didn't panic. It took 4 minutes because I knew it would take 4 minutes, which otherwise would have panicked me because I would have been like, okay, I'm taking a lot of time. But because there was an example, there's a precedent there, I thought, okay, fine. It's okay to take 4 minutes for a few questions. That's fine. As long as you get it right, that's fine. So I think it's important that people also go through that. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time. You can just mindlessly watch those videos basically, and it really helps. And I was quite confident when I gave the exam, I'm going to crack it. And I was also confident I was going to get, I mean, yes, I was, because I was well prepared for that. I'm just very meticulous in my preparation because some people think it's just like you go through the mock exams, you can just get through it. But I also want to give a word of caution that it does test your expertise, your knowledge, and also about how much prep you do basically in trying to get the understanding. So I just want to make that clear. It's just not like you go through the mock, you pass the exam. That it's not the case here.
thank you. Thank you so much, Lakshmi. I think it's amazing. We'll definitely catch up more offline. But thanks once again for sharing your tips to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gaun. Cheers.